I wasn't invited to my sister's baby shower. "You're not family anymore," she said while everyone laughed. I didn't argue, just left. 1 month later she showed up at my door. I didn't go to the baby shower to make a scene. That's the part everyone gets wrong when they hear this story. I wasn't there to cause trouble or insert myself where I wasn't wanted. I didn't know how to let go. Not yet. The invite never came. No text. No call. Just silence, stretched thin like the string of a balloon about to snap. My sister, Carrie, made sure of that. She had a way of getting her message across without saying much at all. And when she did say something, well, people listened. Even when they shouldn't. For weeks leading up to it, I told myself I didn't care. That after everything, after the years of being left out, talked down to, and twisted into the villain in my own family, I wasn't surprised. But when the day came, and I saw the photos start popping up online, that tight balloon string finally gave way. I wasn't in a single picture. Not a mention, not a memory. Like I didn't exist. Still, I had made something. A hand-carved wooden mobile, delicate clouds and stars strung together with twine. Each star was sanded smooth, each one painted by hand. I'm not a sentimental man, not anymore. But I'd poured hours into it, days really. It was my way of trying, in case that still counted. I told myself I'd just drop it off. Quietly. Maybe give it to Mom, or leave it on the porch. I didn't expect Carrie to open the door herself. She stared at me like she was looking at a stain on her favorite dress. Behind her, the house echoed with laughter. Our cousins, friends of hers I barely knew, our parents. The entire clan? She looked over her shoulder, then back at me with that fake smile of hers, sharp as glass. "You're not family anymore," she said. And I swear to you, the whole room laughed. Like it was a punchline. Like I had come dressed as the joke. I didn't argue. I didn't flinch. I just left. I still had the mobile in my hand. And 1 month later, she was the one at my door. Tear-streaked, hollow-eyed, clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. But I'll get to that. First, you need to understand what led us here. And why, when she begged me for help, I didn't even have to raise my voice to deliver the one thing they never expected from me: freedom. Their freedom. From me. The first crack didn't show up out of nowhere. It started slow, like all the worst things do. Little shifts in conversation. Unreturned calls. Group texts that somehow didn't include me anymore. At first, I chalked it up to life. People get busy. Families drift. But deep down, I think I knew. I'd always been the outsider, the one who didn't fall in line. I wasn't like Carrie. Or my parents. I didn't pretend things were fine when they weren't. I didn't smile at someone's face and trash them the second they walked away. And I definitely didn't play along with the games our parents liked to run. The guilt, the manipulation, the quiet little power plays dressed up as family traditions. I was the only one who ever called them out. Especially when the money started moving around. It was a few years back, right after our dad retired early, due to what he claimed was an injury. I dug into it. Found out the injury didn't stop him from golfing twice a week, or from taking out a second mortgage on the house without telling anyone. That mortgage? It wasn't for home repairs like they said. It went straight into Carrie's account. I asked them about it. Not angrily, just directly. That was my mistake. "You've always been suspicious," Mom told me, like that was some moral failing. "Why can't you just trust us?" Carrie didn't even pretend to deny it. "It's called taking care of your family. But I guess you wouldn't understand that." It was subtle at first, the way I was edged out. No longer invited to dinner. No longer asked to help with anything unless they needed a truck, or a loan. But it was that conversation, me not keeping quiet about something shady, that put me on the list. You know the list. The unspoken blacklist of family members you don't say are exiled, but you treat like they're radioactive. From that point on, I was selfish, for not pitching in when Carrie needed help with the down payment on her house. Never mind that I was still living in a tiny apartment, and eating frozen meals 5 nights a week. I was negative for asking why Dad suddenly had a new SUV while Mom claimed they could barely afford groceries. I didn't argue anymore. I just stopped coming around as much. And the less I showed up, the easier it was for them to act like I wasn't part of the family at all. Until eventually, I wasn't. Not officially. Not in their eyes. But that moment on the porch, the laughter, the cruelty, they didn't realize it was the best thing they ever gave me. It made everything crystal clear. And when Carrie came crawling back 1 month later, it was already too late. But we'll get there. First, you need to see how I made peace with walking away from everything I was supposed to belong to. I didn't say anything after the baby's shower. Didn't text. Didn't call. I didn't even tell anyone what happened, not that anyone would have cared, or believed me. That's the thing about being the black sheep. People always assume you're the one causing problems, even when you're the only one trying to tell the truth. Instead, I went home, set the mobile down on my kitchen table, and sat with it for a long time. It was the quietest I'd felt in years. No more chasing their approval. No more hoping they'd change. That was the night I decided I was done. Done pretending. Done sacrificing parts of myself to be included. And definitely done trying to mend relationships that only existed when I made the effort. I didn't announce it. No big goodbye speech. Just silence. They wouldn't even notice I was gone. But when Carrie showed up at my door 4 weeks later, mascara running down her cheeks, shaking like the wind had gutted her, it was the first time in my life I ever saw her look lost. And suddenly, she needed me. It was a Sunday morning. Quiet, gray, with that kind of sky that makes you think it might rain but never quite does. I had just made coffee, still in sweatpants, when the knock came. Not a friendly knock. Not the kind of knock you expect from family dropping by. It was hesitant. Soft. Like whoever was on the other side wasn't sure they had the right to be there. When I opened the door and saw Carrie standing there, my first reaction wasn't anger. It was curiosity. She looked nothing like the version of herself I saw at the shower. No makeup. Hair tied up messily. Eyes red and puffy, like she hadn't slept. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Just this shaky breath that gave her away. I waited. Finally, she said it. He left. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. Her boyfriend, the one she traded everything else in for, was gone. Just like that. And Mom and Dad? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She looked away. They said they can't help right now. Of course they did. Then she looked back at me. I didn't know where else to go. There it was. Not an apology. Not yet. Just desperation, wrapped in the same entitlement that had always carried her. But this time? I didn't move aside. Why are you here, Carrie? I asked, not unkindly. Because you miss me, or because you need something? She didn't answer. And I already knew. She stood there, blinking like I'd slapped her. Carrie had never heard me speak to her like that. Calm. Controlled. Not angry, not bitter, just done. It threw her off more than yelling ever could have. She started, then trailed off, hugging her arms to her chest. I thought maybe we could talk. I nodded slowly, but I didn't invite her in. That was deliberate. She kept glancing past me, like she was waiting for the door to open wider. Like part of her still believed that, at the last second, I'd cave and play the brother she remembered, the one who dropped everything the moment she needed something. Not this time. You know, I said, leaning against the doorframe. When I showed up at your baby's shower, I wasn't there to cause trouble. I was dropping off a gift. I spent weeks making it. Her eyes shifted, uncertain. And you told me I wasn't family anymore. In front of everyone. She opened her mouth. Maybe to defend herself, maybe to deny it. But I held up a hand. Don't. I'm not here to relive it. I just want you to understand that when you said those words, I heard them. I believed you. She looked down. I didn't come here to fight, she mumbled. No. You came here because the people you chose over me turned their backs on you. And now you're out of options. Still, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shame her. But I didn't open the door either. Carrie, I said quietly, you made it very clear, I'm not your family. I'm just honoring that choice now. She didn't cry again. She just stood there, staring at the space between us, as if willing it to shrink. But it didn't. She didn't leave right away. Carrie stood there on my porch like a statue, arms clutched tightly to her sides, lips pressed into a thin line. For the first time in our lives, the silence between us wasn't mine, it was hers. She had always been the voice in every room. The one who made sure her pain was front and center, loud and adorned with just enough fragility to make everyone feel sorry for her. But now she had nothing left to decorate the story with. Finally she said, I didn't know it was going to get this bad. That made me tilt my head slightly. Didn't know what exactly? That he'd leave? That Mom and Dad would bail when you needed them? Or that you might end up on my doorstep after telling me I was nothing to you? She winced. I messed up, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded slowly. Yeah. You did. But you didn't mess up today, Carrie. You messed up a long time ago. I motioned to the space between us. This is just the bill finally coming due. She looked up at me, and for a second, I thought I saw the sister I used to know. The one from when we were kids, before everything got tangled in ego and manipulation and expectations we never agreed to. There was a time, brief but real, when we were just two kids hiding in closets during storms, whispering jokes to calm each other down. That version of her was long gone. But in her eyes I saw a flicker of that ghost. A small crack in the armor. I don't know where else to go, she said. And that was the problem. Because I wasn't her last resort. I was her default. The one she assumed would always be there when everything else fell apart. I looked at her, not with anger, not with hate, but with clarity. Carrie, you're going to have to figure that out. Just like I did when everyone turned their backs on me. Her face dropped, her mouth parting slightly. You're really not going to let me in? I shook my head. Not today. Maybe not ever. Her voice cracked. So this is it? You're just cutting me off? No, I said. You already did that. I'm just living accordingly. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it. Gently. Quietly. Like turning the last page of a book I'd already read too many times. And on the other side, I heard her footsteps. Hesitant at first. Then fading down the steps. She was gone. The quiet that followed didn't feel triumphant. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even satisfaction. It was something else, heavier, but cleaner. Like finally putting down a load I'd carried so long, I didn't even realize how much it was crushing me. I stood in the hallway for a while, staring at the closed door. Part of me expected her to knock again. Cry. Beg. Carrie had always been persistent when she wanted something. But not this time. She got the message. And I got my peace. Over the next few days I heard nothing. Not from her. Not from our parents. No sudden flood of messages. No guilt trips or carefully crafted. Just checking in. Texts. And that silence told me more than any words ever could. They weren't reaching out, not because they didn't care, but because they knew they'd lost the leverage. That baby shower moment? That was supposed to be my exile. Their final word. But now they saw the mistake. They thought pushing me out meant I'd come crawling back. They didn't count on the fact that once I was free from their approval, I had no reason to ever return. That weekend, I found the mobile I'd made. Still sitting on the kitchen table, untouched. I ran my fingers along one of the carved stars and smiled. Then I walked it out to the trash, lifted the lid, and let it go. Not out of spite. Out of closure. Because that gift wasn't for the child. It was for a sister who no longer existed. It took another week before the messages came. Not from Carrie. From Mom. It started small. A single text. Hey. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. That old reflex flared up, the part of me still wired to believe that maybe, this time, they were reaching out because they finally understood. That maybe, just maybe, an apology was coming. But I knew better. 2 days later, another one. Carrie told us what happened. She's been through a lot. Don't you think you were a little harsh? There it was. The shift. Not concern. Not ownership. Just the same old script. Poor Carrie. Harsh me. I didn't reply. Then came the call. Straight to voicemail. Her voice, tight with concern, rehearsed with a sprinkle of motherly guilt. We all say things we don't mean. She needs you right now. You're her brother. I played it once. Deleted it immediately after. Because I knew what they were doing. They weren't upset about what Carrie had done. They were upset that, for once, I didn't take it. In their minds, the real problem wasn't the betrayal, the exile, the public humiliation. It was my refusal to forgive on command. To be the good son, the good brother, the one who swept things under the rug so the family could keep pretending. But I was done pretending. They had drawn the line. I had simply started honoring it. That Sunday, I saw Carrie's name light up my phone again. No message. Just a missed call. A final attempt, maybe. Or maybe she just wanted to see if I'd still pick up. I didn't. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Because I finally understood something no one in that family ever wanted me to know. I didn't lose them. They lost me. And once I stopped trying to make them see my value, I could finally see it myself. It's strange how quickly people start to notice your absence, once they realize they can't use it against you anymore. In the weeks that followed, I began to see just how much of the family dynamic had been built around me being the fallback, the fixer, the one who held the door open while everyone else walked through without ever looking back. I didn't answer their calls. I didn't respond to texts. And I sure as hell didn't show up for Sunday dinners, birthday brunches, or any of the obligatory events where we all pretended everything was fine. And the silence? It started to unravel them. First came my father. The same man who once laughed when Carrie cut me off. I hadn't heard a word from him in over a year, not even when the baby shower fiasco happened. But out of the blue, he emailed me. A short, clipped message. Carrie's not doing well. Thought you should know. No details. No apology. Just enough to try and hook me back in. Then a message from an aunt I hadn't spoken to in years. You're being too hard on her. Family forgives. Funny how that word gets dragged out whenever it's convenient, family. As if blood entitles people to endless chances, no matter how often they spit in your face. As if forgiveness is a faucet you can turn on when you're thirsty, and off when you're done drinking. But I wasn't thirsty anymore. I was done being their reservoir. One night I ran into someone from back home at the grocery store, a friend of Carrie's, someone I hadn't seen since high school. She looked at me, a little wide-eyed, a little surprised, and said, I heard what happened with your sister. It's all anyone's been talking about. I blinked. Really? She nodded. Well, people are saying you slammed the door in her face. That you left her crying on your porch. That you abandoned her when she had no one else. I didn't get defensive. I didn't offer my side. I just smiled. Let them talk, I said. It's the first time they've talked about me like I had any power at all. And I meant it. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the family scapegoat. I wasn't the default. I wasn't the crutch they leaned on while mocking the limp. I was a ghost. Not the tragic kind. The free kind. The kind that gets to walk away and watch the house burn from the hill, hands clean. I started pouring that energy back into myself. Into my work. Into friendships that didn't ask me to prove my worth. Into little things like reading in the quiet, or going out just because I wanted to, not because I was escaping anyone. And Carrie? From what I gathered, she moved back in with Mom and Dad. The boyfriend never came back. Her friends, the ones who laughed with her at the shower, didn't stick around when the party ended. And the family that once circled the wagons around her started to see the holes in the story. I didn't rub it in. I didn't gloat. I just stayed gone. And somehow, that was the loudest thing I'd ever said. In the end, I didn't get revenge. Not in the way people expect it. There was no grand confrontation. No shouting match. No moment where Carrie begged and I slammed the door with some dramatic line. What I gave her, what I gave all of them, was far quieter. But far more permanent. I gave them absence. And in doing so, I reclaimed something I hadn't had in years, my peace. There's power in walking away without burning everything behind you. Not because they deserve kindness, but because you deserve clarity. Dignity. Freedom. If you're listening to this and you've been that person, the black sheep, the forgotten one, the one expected to carry everyone else's weight, hear me when I say this. You're allowed to let go. And when they finally come knocking, not because they miss you but because they need something, remember what they told you when they thought you'd never leave. Remember the silence. And know that choosing yourself isn't cruel. It's necessary.